Hello and welcome to another edition of the PHNX D-backs podcast right here at PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla, officially known as your mayor of PHNX, and I'm joined by my vice mayor, the one and only Thunderstick Jesse Friedman. That way, he's that way. I don't know my left from my right.
There Jesse. I am.
There you are. You're over there. How are you, sir?
I am all right. This Diamondbacks team has given us quite a bit to talk about over the last couple weeks. And I know for a lot of people, that's a bit of a surprise given how the season started. So things are good.
It's wild. They are the only team in baseball with a winning record that's also in last place in their division. Tis the life of the NL West. Of course, this show is brought to you by the fine folks at the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers can use our promo code of PHNX and bet just $5 on any NBA team to win their game, and you will get $150 in free bets if they do. That's promo code PHNX over at the DraftKings Sportsbook, and I don't know if I can make any guarantees on the Suns, especially if Scott Foster is refereeing Game 5, but that's a whole other show. We don't do that here. We are where you come to get away from that chat, that stress, that pressure. There's a lot of things going on. A lot of high expectations with the Phoenix Suns, not so much with the Arizona Diamondbacks. In fact, the only people that predicted the Diamondbacks to have a decent record besides me were the robots. And of course, you don't ever go against the robots. Don't ever.
What robots?
I think it was Baseball Prospectus. There was. Certain,
no,
certain
you're
generated.
You're talking about Out of the Park Baseball, which I think did a simulation where the Diamondbacks won like 94 games or something ridiculous like that.
No, I'm not going that crazy just yet. But we will be talking playoffs very soon if they keep this upward trajectory going, Jesse, because the Diamondbacks find themselves one game over 500. Where's it going to go? I don't know. But just in case it gets out of control, we made a fun graphic about how far over Mount 500 we can get. Jesse, let's go. How far can we go? If that wasn't one of your favorite games on Price is Right, then we can't be friends. But this is an exciting time for me. It's an exciting time for the Diamondbacks. Right now, the Diamondbacks do have a one game over 500 record, 15-14. And again, they have a pretty not winnable series. We won't take anything away from the Marlins in case the Diamondbacks end up, having a tough time here because they are a very good team. But a couple of winnable series coming up. And now, looking at the Marlins, especially considering that they swept them, we could find the Diamondbacks maybe 2-3 games over 500 by the time this series is over, followed up by the Cubs, which could maybe add on a couple of more wins. I don't. What is this? What am I even talking about, Jesse? This seems crazy.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, we would have said that you were just being completely irrational, which, I mean, to be fair, you normally are pretty irrational. So I guess nothing's really changed. But yeah, I mean, the Diamondbacks so far, at least recently, have looked like a better team than the Marlins. They certainly proved that by sweeping them in Miami, and they certainly look like a better team than the Chicago Cubs, who are off to a 9-17 start or something like that. So yeah, the Diamondbacks have a chance this week to really make some headway. And, the NL West, like you said before, the Diamondbacks are still sitting in last place, and it's going to be pretty hard for them to dig their way out of that. But at the very least, this team is playing entertaining baseball. And like you said earlier, it's been really amusing seeing Suns fans, angrily turning off the Suns game and coming over and watching Zach Gallen or Merrill Kelly throw another gem. That's the way it's been over the last few days. And I think a lot of people have enjoyed it.
let's get more of that. Not more of that. We don't want more of the Suns losing and people coming over.
We don't want to sacrifice.
No.
Yeah, you would hope that the Diamondbacks don't have to sacrifice their success for the Suns and vice versa, that the Suns don't have to sacrifice theirs for the Diamondbacks. But it's been kind of a one or the other situation up until this point. So hopefully
the scales have to balance. For those of you that have watched Moon Knight, you know that the scales must balance. You got your heart on one side, you got your feather on the other side. The scale's got to balance. But Jesse, I will say that looking again, we talked about the pitching matchups yesterday. Let's take a look at the pitching matchups again between these two teams, just because I'm excited about these matchups. I think the Diamondbacks have a great lineup going up against Hernandez tonight, who is arguably the worst pitcher in their rotation. And then they have some very good pitchers going up in Madison Bumgarner and Merrill Kelly for the rest of the series. And one of your big takeaways from your article that you just put up today on gophnx.com about their success recently has been the starting pitching.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The starting pitching has been, I mean, it's a 2.21 ERA as a staff so far, which is off the charts, ridiculous. And for those of you who read the article, I know I made some people angry by talking a little bit about how some of the numbers the Diamondbacks rotation has put up so far don't appear to be particularly sustainable. And I think I mentioned it.
I was one of the angry people with you. You're dead to me.
Yeah.
I told you we're not done. We're done with that. We passed that point. We're not a small sample size. It's a larger sample size now.
There are some tweets that I put out full well knowing that what I'm saying is sound and accurate to the best of my ability, and I'm still going to get slammed for it no matter what I do. And then I recognize that that's just the way that Twitter operates.
Stop being so reasonable. Stop telling both sides of the story.
The problem, Derek, is that the Diamondbacks BABIP as a starting rotation is 233. BABIP stands for batting average on balls in play. So, as a pitcher, if you strike a guy out, you prevent them from putting the ball in play, and you don't subject yourself to the whims of all the things that can happen when a hitter puts the ball in play. Sometimes hitters don't hit the ball well and it still drops in for a hit. Sometimes they smoke the ball and it gets caught. Those kinds of things happen all the time. The Diamondbacks starting rotation is 24th in strikeout rate up to this point in the season. They're not striking out that many guys. Even Zach Gallen's strikeout rate, I believe, is the lowest of his career. And for some of them, that could be a good thing. Zach Gallen is striking out fewer guys, but he's also walking way fewer guys. So it's a recipe that can work. But the flip side is that
if you don't mind if I cut in there a second.
Sure.
My hypothetical take here is, or at least my observation is, yes, they aren't striking out as many guys, but how much longer are they going in games now than we've seen them go previously?
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the last 2 seasons, if you want to call the last 2 seasons 2 seasons. But basically, over the last few years, going back to 2019, the Diamondbacks have struggled with starting pitching going past 6 innings in a game. I mean, we've even seen the likes of Robbie Ray leave here and all of a sudden find the ability to go long while still striking out a lot of guys. He didn't necessarily sacrifice his strikeout rate, but I feel like what we're seeing right now out of the Diamondbacks is pitching to contact more. And so far it's been working, especially for someone like tonight's starter, Humberto Castellanos, who really doesn't have great stuff, but has been effective at going out there at times and putting zeros up on the scoreboard and having a quality outing.
That's a very fair point. Yeah. And the Diamondbacks genuinely have been good this season at preventing hard contact. And that's what a lot of people were saying in response to the tweet was like, hey, yes, the Diamondbacks maybe it appears they're getting lucky, but they're really just preventing hard contact. Should start with the mayor's friendly fire.
I will viciously attack anybody here at PHNX. I'll attack Totri again. Totri's writing an article and he started it with the exact same word I started my article with, and I want to fight him over it. So this is me calling Totri out live on the network.
What word?
Title.
What word was it?
Examining.
Oh, okay.
Right? That's not a common way to start off an article title. I know he stole it from me. I know you stole it from me, Torey. And Shane just came in here and told me I had permission to murder him. So that's now allowed. But anyway.
Anyway.
No murder? Okay, what did you say? Just go after? Just fight him. Okay. He said I can fight him. Okay. That's fine. Whatever. Well, the results of the fight are the results of the fight. We'll let that stand where it is. But anyway, I will say that the biggest takeaway here is that the Diamondbacks right now are on a roll and are about to make a little bit of history for their manager, Torey Lovullo. Of course, Torey Lovullo has been around for a while. I've been around for a long time. This is the third manager I've covered, and Torey Lovullo's been here for a long time. So that means I'm just old now, Jesse, is what my thought is. But Torey Lovullo needs just one more win. Tonight could be that night to tie Kirk Gibson for the most wins by a manager in franchise history. So I guess my first thought here is what are your thoughts on Lovullo and his time as a manager? Because I'm not going to be partial. I'm just going to talk about how much I love him for probably 5 straight minutes. So you can start this off by being a little bit more rational and unbiased.
I think that Torey Lovullo's managerial career started about as well as it possibly could. I mean, the Diamondbacks were coming off a very disappointing 2016 season. And yeah, I mean, they went out and spent a lot of money and traded away a lot of very good players in order to bring in Zach Greinke and Shelby Miller, only to see the whole thing blow up in their face in a pretty dramatic way that season. And Torey Lovullo came in here, and the moment he got in town, the Diamondbacks suddenly were a contending team. I think they won 93 games that year. Of course, they made the playoffs. They were a wild card team. Didn't make it past the Dodgers in the first round, but it was a memorable season. And it's been a while. I mean, the Diamondbacks that's the only playoff run they've had since 2011. So they, their playoff appearances have been few and far between. And Torey was a big part of getting them there. Since then, I think that people have always respected Torey Lovullo. Everyone knows that he has a reputation as a player's manager, as a guy that players want to play for, that they're motivated to play for, that they just genuinely love as a human being. And I think as reporters, we can understand that, right? I mean, when you're in a room with Torey Lovullo, it's hard not to like that guy just as a human being. He's very friendly.
It's not just that he's friendly. It's not just that he's a good guy, because he's all of those things, right? But he is one of the most respectful human beings I've ever covered in sports, right? There's a lot of egos in sports. They vary from from
he
person
has
to person,
none.
Right? He has no ego, and at times his patience with just us as media, right? Sometimes the questions we ask, the things that we say, he rarely gets his feathers ruffled by the questions. He has no problem telling us straight up, like, hey, I know you got a job to do, because there's people that like Torey so much that when they do have to ask those tough questions, they preface them with some sort of apology, like almost saying like,
he doesn't like that.
He does not. He doesn't, because he knows we have a job to do, and just like they have a job to do, right? And he never has a problem answering those tough questions, because he knows there's no emotions behind it. He definitely, I don't know, like sometimes I wonder how Torey Lovullo would be in front of a big market like LA or like New York, especially New York.
I mean, he was in Boston. He wasn't their manager,
right,
but he was their bench coach, and he managed a number of games for them. So
and again, it's a similar it's a similar kind of market. Definitely tough sports fans and tough media that ask those kind of questions. So that's where it comes from. But I think for me, one of my favorite moments, Jesse, was the first time I ever heard Torey Lovullo curse. And it was during that season, that magical season where they became a wild card team. It was during my first chance to be in the clubhouse while the Diamondbacks celebrated something when they clinched that wild card berth. This wasn't the winning of the wild card berth, but it was when they clinched it. And Torey Lovullo used some colorful language to motivate his team while basically we were all there, which is something we as media never get to see, right? These are things that occur behind closed doors, and we're not there for that. And Lovullo he's a very respectful person. He would never speak like this publicly or anything like that. And I had never heard a bad word come out of his mouth up to this point after covering him for, an entire season. And man, when he gave his, little speech during their celebration in the clubhouse, I have never in my life been ready to run through an actual brick wall for somebody, but Torey could have asked me to do it, and I would have made a new doorway in that clubhouse, man. I mean,
Derek, you realize he wasn't talking to you. You were a reporter. You were not one of the players.
Yeah, you say he wasn't talking to me, but the fun part about being around this entire sport and doing this is to get equally motivated in life by the things that these guys say and that they do, right?
Sure.
Torey Lovullo talks about winning the day, right? And that's something that I personally, I even kind of joke about it with my friends at times, but it's the truth, right? You want to try to not overwhelm yourself with tomorrow and beyond at times, because it can be very overwhelming. It can be a lot to take on. I know doing this job can be a lot to take on, even though I absolutely love this job more than any job I've ever had, right? To bring you guys this show and to do the stuff we do, it can be overwhelming at times, right? So sometimes all you can do is make it a little bit easier on yourself and just focus on the task at hand. Win today. Try to be 1-0 today, right? So that's just an example of some of the stuff. But yeah, it's like being around Monty. I can't imagine being around Monty Williams and not eventually having his teaching, his philosophy, all those little Montyisms actually start to, be something that registers with you, even though, like you said, he's not talking to the media. He's talking to his guys, but to hear that stuff, get you fired up. And like, for me personally, it was one of the greatest moments I ever remember of Torey, because like, I don't know, it's like anything, and not a lot of people got to see it. I mean, there is video of it from me that you can see it, but like, there is like few people that got to be in that room and that ended up getting to see that speech. So like, for me, it was like the great moment from a movie or something like that. It was really special, and it's,
I mean, I guess you guys probably couldn't film it, I assume. Was this like within the clubhouse, like a place where you couldn't have cameras?
Actually,
or was this something you could?
I could and did, and I will find that video somewhere because it's on YouTube. It still lives somewhere out there, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's also really well placed curse word, right? I went to see Mick Foley, the famous WWE wrestler, and he does a good comedy storytelling show, and he tells you that he's going to only use the F word one time, and it's going to be worth it when he does. And that's the exact kind of feeling this was. It was like the first time I heard it from Torey Lovullo, definitely wasn't the last, but it was very impactful when I did hear it. So, but I did want to ask you before we move on from this, Torey Lovullo, what are your thoughts on the Diamondbacks extending him beyond with the way that this season is going right now?
So far, so good. I mean, 15-14, so far, so good. I don't think you could really ask for more from what this Diamondbacks team has to work with from a roster standpoint. I mean, they're getting pretty much everything out of this roster that you could imagine. So, yeah, I mean, it's very possible if this season continues to go well, Torey Lovullo could be, not just the winningest manager in franchise history, but really the first manager who sticks around for a long time. The Diamondbacks haven't really stuck with managers generally for very long. Torey Lovullo has already managed more games than any other manager in franchise history. So, and yes, Chris Melton mentions the Yachty incident with Torey, which of course is a legendary moment in his career.
Yeah, I just wonder, do we, if they keep on this same trajectory without really, let's say they don't break out too much more than this, and again they finish somewhere near what my prediction was of 82 and 80, would you see him getting extended prior to the end of the season, or do you think that's just going to be business they take care of at the end of the year?
I would, yeah. I mean, I guess the timing of it is more semantics. I don't necessarily feel strongly about exactly when it would happen, but
Okay.
but I mean, yeah, if they win 82 games, I think it's a no brainer at that point. I mean, Torey. I think the Diamondbacks leadership has probably suspected that Torey was never really the problem, never really a problem in this organization. Right. You know, maybe there were some dysfunction around him. There were some things that didn't go as they should in the organization, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he was the problem. And this year appears to be confirming that.
I completely agree. And by the way, we talked about Jesse's article that you can get over at gophnx.com. If you're a member already, you can get that article right now. And that is our Jesse's 5 takeaways, observations from the D-backs series win over the Rockies. If you're not a member, sign up now. You can get an annual membership, and you'll get yourself a free T-shirt for any T-shirt you want from our PHNX Locker. And that membership will cost you just $60. So if you're interested in that, sign up now. If you're not interested in the annual membership, sign up for the month-to-month membership, and you'll get your first month for just 50 cents. So no matter what, we want you to join us over here to get all the wonderful writing, not only from us, but from the rest of the PHNX staff. You not only get discounts over at the PHNXLocker.com, but you'll also get access to our members-only Discord. So sign up today, become part of the family, and join us here. Jesse, of course, today it wouldn't be complete if we didn't do what we normally do every Monday, and of course every week here at the PHNX D-backs podcast is Shark Week, and every day is Earth Day, and every Monday we go to the mailbag. So we're gonna see if anybody has any mailbag Monday questions for us. Do we have the song by chance, or is the song not available? We don't have this.
I unfortunately do not.
It's all right. There's going to be a lot of people angry about that, but that's fine.
There's going to be a lot of people.
There's going to be a lot of people.
Be angry
my
at me.
mail, but I'm gonna. Okay, well, I know who to.
Yeah, can you hum it? Can you hum it, Derek?
I should have Megaran pop in right now and just do it live. Is what I should have happen.
We need to have Megaran pop in and do the song live. That would be incredible.
Yeah, he's just going to talk. We want to keep Megaran as far away from basically the Suns as possible. So we might need to keep him away from the Diamondbacks as well. But he
wrote the outro song that he wrote for, I think it's an outro song that he wrote for PHNX Suns
it's really good. It's really good. I'm kind of mad because he's my friend. And
that doesn't feel right.
Yeah, Saul's in the comments. Yeah, Saul, how did you get a song before me? He's my friend. But we do have some questions, by the way, on Twitter already for Mailbag Monday. If you are here, drop them in the comments. Please ask us whatever may be on your mind. But our first question on Twitter comes from our friend Sean McNally, Sean McNally. And he asked actually a couple of questions, but he says, I know it's early still, but if the success keeps up, do the D-backs become buyers at the trade deadline? And then if so, big arms for the bullpen, and agree that the 3-headed monster rotation gives them a playoff advantage. Let's take that one question at a time. Buyers at the trade deadline. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. This is all crazy. Yeah, I think there's a chance, right? I mean, they've been conservative in their moves so far, but several of those moves have worked out pretty well. Zach Davies has worked out well. Kyle Nelson has worked out well. So the Diamondbacks have had moves for guys that weren't big names, people that you didn't really immediately say this guy was going to make a huge impact on the roster, but they've been good. So I don't think it's out of the question to see them be buyers and try to make some trades to bring in maybe some pieces if their record is good enough, which it really easily could be the way they're playing right now.
It's definitely tricky in the NL West. I mean, you pretty much have to know in advance there's no way you're winning the NL West division. And so at that point you're looking at winning one of the wild card spots. And with the Padres and the Giants and the Dodgers, one of those teams is probably going to win the division. The other two are probably going to be wild card teams. And that doesn't account for any wild card teams from the rest of the National League. You've only got one more spot after that. So it's going to be tough for them to find their way into a spot where they're legitimately in a position to make the playoffs. Even if they're around 82 and 80 by the end of the year, even if they're around a 500 team at the deadline, I'm not sure that's enough for the D-backs to really push in the chips, at least not on anyone big. Like they're not going to go get, some big name closer or something. It's just, we're too early in the process. The Diamondbacks have too many good prospects that are close, and you're not going to trade those guys, just for this season to try to go get something.
Would I be surprised to see them make moves to try to make themselves better if they are somehow find themselves 10 plus games over 500? Not at all. But I agree with you. I think you're playing with house money with this season if this team ends up being good. Depends on how good they are, but we don't feel like their ceiling is much higher than where it's at now, right? Like right now, they're overachieving as it stands. If they continue down this path of staying a couple of games over 500 or maybe even being better, I think that's a bit of a trap where you start getting tempted to try to make those big moves to make the team significantly better for this season. But that could result in, maybe getting rid of some pieces that they should hold on to for the future. I think that's the big key right now at this point. If they can make a move that does kind of help them make them better without parting away with any big pieces, I don't think that's out of the question, but I don't see them being like you said, like going for a big name that's gonna be a big story. Now with Brent Strom and the way that they have been frugal, kind of shopping a bit out of the bargain bin, I wouldn't be surprised if they did make a move for a guy that maybe didn't seem to move the needle at much, but maybe can come over here and can contribute and help this team win games. But his last question I like a lot, which is agree that the three-headed monster rotation gives them a playoff advantage. I can't believe we're here saying this about their starting rotation.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, right now they're pitching pretty well. I think of the three pieces, I still am a bit skeptical about Madison Bumgarner's numbers so far. I'd like to see a bit bigger of a sample size before I am ready to say they're that formidable. But Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen seem to be a pretty tough 1-2 matchup.
I think that's a bit of a stretch. Let's see more than a month of top-notch performance before we talk about D-back starters matching up with other teams' aces in a playoff series. But it's not a crazy proposition. I think Zach Gallen has pretty much proven at this point in his career that he's worthy of getting starts in a postseason series. I think he's definitely at that point. Merrill Kelly is a guy who appears to be working his way in that direction. I'm not sure anyone is taking him over Clayton Kershaw or something in a playoff matchup at this point. But although granted the 1990s Braves,
yes, we are that.
So we'll see. I mean, we just need to see more of this rotation before I think we can make any claims like that. Is the three-headed monster, is Zach Davies the third guy, or is Madison Bumgarner the third guy?
Zach Davies is not the third guy.
Okay.
The third guy would be the three guys that were in the top 5 for pitching ERA for the entire league.
Yeah.
Before Madison
I would
Bumgarner
make the
had
argument
gingerly stroked and tossed out of the game early. By the way, Dan Bellino not only issued that apology, but apparently was disciplined by MLB and was fined.
I think with a fine. Yeah,
was not going to miss any time, like you probably should. But at least it hits him in the pocketbook, which I believe is probably also going to happen to Madison Bumgarner automatically for getting tossed from the game. But whatever. Small price to pay to be able to yell what he yelled right in that guy's face. Next question comes in the comments from the Clutch Canuck, and he asks, will Carson Kelly be moved at the deadline if Thomas and Varsho thrive at center field and catcher?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I think right now the one I think what everybody would like to see is Varsho playing catcher so that we can have Alec Thomas in center field and have this, kind of lineup of the young guys growing. Carson Kelly right now, I don't know what to say. Hopefully the injury has something
Yeah.
to do with, his inability at the plate and his lack of success this season. He has looked lost in more than one way at times. And I just think right now the Diamondbacks have a different philosophy about that. I think last year Carson Kelly probably would have had way more time considering,
Yeah.
I know the
Yeah. More
injury is
lead.
why he's on the IL right now, right? But he would have been given way more opportunity last season. This year, Varsho is hitting really well, and the pitching staff really seems to like Jose Herrera. So I don't know what to say about him other than his value isn't very high. So that's the one thing I think protecting him from being traded. But who knows? He at this point he's expendable, I would say, with the way that things are going for this team otherwise.
Chris makes a good point in the comments, saying I'm concerned about the total effect of more reps at the dish for Varsho. Just
Very
that,
true.
yeah, you want Varsho in there every single day of the lineup that you can get him. I mean, he's been arguably the team's best offensive player so far this season. And yeah, Carson Kelly he's struggled quite a bit this season offensively and even defensively at times. Things haven't looked quite as sharp as we've seen in past years. And I think you're right. The leash is probably a little bit shorter. I don't think the Diamondbacks want to play Dalton Varsho at catcher, to be frank. He's been a tremendously valuable center fielder. And when you discover that, your average, slightly below average catcher can play like a dynamite center field, you generally pick the dynamite center field as where you want to play him every day. So I think that's the ideal situation. But I mean, now that Alec Thomas is here, there's a bit of a traffic jam there. From what we've heard from Mike Hazen and Torey Lovullo, it almost sounds like once Carson Kelly comes back, that Alec Thomas at that point might be out of an opportunity. I think that's probably just more kind of forcing Thomas to prove that he belongs rather than giving him that spot in the long term up front. But yeah, the issue with trading Carson Kelly is there's just not a lot of value there right now. I mean, you're going to want to see some signs of life. You're going to want to see his value tick up before you consider moving a guy like that in a trade.
Exactly. And then we'll never hear the end of it about the Paul Goldschmidt trade.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You got to be pretty careful about who you trade Carson Kelly for, because I mean, you don't like actually, but you know that fans are going to think of this trade in that way for a long time.
Brute Squad says somebody is going to be the odd man out as long as Walker, Peralta, Ahmed are on the team. Guys like Smith and Varsho are going to be stuck playing out of position. He's not wrong. And part of that is the reason why we didn't see this team go after some more free agents, right? Today, we had Sergio Alcantara was picked up off waivers by the Padres. And yeah, of course, because at some time when we play the Padres, Sergio Alcantara is going to have the game of his life against us. And that's the way moves like that go for the Arizona Diamondbacks. But unfortunately, there's been a lot of tough decisions that have had to be made this season by the Diamondbacks. And, it's mostly because this team is sifting through the pieces that they have to try to find the guys that can perform, right? You're going to have bad outings like Noe Ramirez has had, but then Noe Ramirez was excellent in the series against the Rockies. So, you're going to have those times when, the pieces aren't going to always be 100%, but they know who they can count on and they're figuring that out, right? It's kind of weird because certain guys haven't had that many opportunities and they got sent down right away. You could just tell that there's way more to the bad performances than just having a bad day, right? There's a lot of taking the coaching. There's a lot of things going on that the team is looking at, even when you go 0 for 4 at the plate or make an error or anything like that, or have a bad outing as a pitcher. That's why it's very interesting to me that they haven't really given Caleb Smith many opportunities this year. And they seem to be all in on him coming into the season. So that's, to me, the big reason why it feels odd that they did such a 180 when it comes to him.
Sure.
But it's like what we were just saying about this team right now. This team really isn't, they're not holding guys for a long time. They're not giving guys many opportunities because they seem to have a lot of guys that are ready for this opportunity. The wonderful game that we had with Alec Thomas in his debut, it's I mean, it was a special moment, but he had a big game, right? But it's just one day, right? He doesn't necessarily stay here just based on that one performance. He has to maintain it.
Yeah.
And if he can, I don't think it's a guarantee, like you said, that he's going to necessarily be sent down when Carson Kelly comes back. They'll have another difficult decision to make at that point. But it's really up to Alec Thomas at this point to decide on how long he stays here, more than Torey Lovullo and Mike Hazen.
He has kind of a unique batting stance, just like a unique approach at the plate. He kind of has this like loading up motion sort of a deal when the pitch is on the way. And I think from what I've heard, there seems to and this I guess happens every time you call up a young player like Alec Thomas, but I've heard from a lot of people that Alec Thomas, more so than other prospects, might be prone to struggling a little bit out of the gate, just based on his approach at the plate. He's a pretty aggressive hitter. It's possible it could take just a little bit longer for him to adapt to big league pitching than some other prospects. And I mean, almost every prospect the Diamondbacks have called up over the last few years has had that adjustment period. Dalton Varsho really struggled for, 50 or 100 games before he really found his stride offensively. So I think even though people are super excited for Alec Thomas and rightfully so, you also want to recognize that it's possible that, that 1-for-3 game that he had with a double to open up his career, there might be some bumps and bruises over the next few weeks. We'll have to see.
And we're fickle as hell. We are fickle as fans, Jesse. We do not give people a long time. I remember when Dalton Varsho came up. Dalton Varsho was the highly touted prospect. I know I've talked about this before, but like you said, his struggles made people kind of just chalk it up to him being, he's a little guy. He doesn't really seem like he fits in.
Right. You can really be fooled by a young prospect finding their way, not playing well for even like a full season, and then realize like, oh, this guy's actually pretty good. He just needed some time to adjust, and Alec Thomas might need that time.
Varsho has been incredibly versatile for this team. Again, something Torey Lovullo loves, but and I'm interested actually to see how things go for him as catcher, because again, that versatility is going to be the thing I think that allows him to get, to play a lot of games, to get a lot of reps, right? And to provide that versatility for Lovullo late in games when he needs to bring somebody in. It's just between him and Josh Rojas, I swear they have like 6 out of the 9 positions covered. They're fine. As long as
pretty
Josh
much.
Rojas and Dalton Varsho are available. But I saw a question from the Clutch Canuck who said, who would lead the D-backs in jersey sales by the end of the year? I don't know what kind of question that is, because it's obviously going to be Seth Beer. I mean, as long as Beer, if they would have given Seth Beer 30, Seth Beer jerseys would have been by far the biggest seller. But that's another thing that you got to go talk to one of Jake McCarthy about. So that's a different thing. But what do you think, Jesse? Anybody going to beat Beer out for sales? Do you think it's going to be like an actual, like maybe all-star player like Zach Gallen or Ketel Marte?
Well, so I'm curious. You might have a better idea of this than I would. Are Seth Beer uniforms actually for sale in the team shop already? You can already buy a Seth Beer uniform.
I saw a Seth Beer Serpientes jersey for sale.
Wow. They're really going for it.
They are going for it. I mean, you'd be a fool not to. You would absolutely.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, I mean, Seth Beer has really struggled over the last few weeks. And so I do think that jersey was probably selling like crazy, over the first week or so when Seth Beer was batting 400. Maybe things have cooled off a little bit since then. But yeah, I mean, if Seth Beer is just like a viable major league player, you naturally feel like he's going to outpace all other jersey sales just by virtue of his name being ridiculous and amazing. So there you go.
All right. Chris Melton asks, has there been follow-up on the communication device from dugout to pitcher in college? How's it going? Yeah, actually, I think from my understanding, everything's been approved. Aren't they already using a device similar to that right now at a major league level that isn't as sophisticated yet, but they want to start allowing that because, again, I mean, I don't see a reason why not.
Yeah, it just makes it easier for the catcher and the pitcher to communicate during the game. As long as the opposing team can't like intercept the signal or something
There you
like
go.
that, which of course it's only a matter of time. But
yeah,
but yeah, we've seen some Diamondbacks pitchers have used the system. I think it's optional from what I can tell. If you want to use it, you can. I don't think a majority of pitchers and catchers are using it just yet, but within a few years, it really could be a significant part of the game.
I wouldn't be surprised. And then I wouldn't be surprised for a week after it becomes like an actual part of the game that they figure out some way to completely intercept those signals. How does it impact catchers calling the game? I think for the most part, it just requires less signaling to the catcher for the most part, right? It's just mostly about conveying from the dugout to the catcher how they want to proceed with attacking a batter instead of having to sign in some cases from a manager to a third base coach who then has to then change the signs up and do different signs to the catcher so that, you know, these signs aren't being intercepted by the other team. So yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. And in 2022, we should be using technology in a way a little bit more to expedite this process. Brute Squad says the crowd noises seem to be an issue as well. Yeah. So like, I mean, that would make sense because I know in some cases they're speaking to the catcher right through in the college game right now, they have like a headset and stuff, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it's mostly just trying to make sure that they get the information across, and baseball is what it is, you know. The signing and everything is part of it, and it's ridiculous. And I could only imagine trying to figure out the signs on OG's gummies, Jesse. I couldn't imagine it. I couldn't imagine
either.
What are today's signs? I don't know. What were yesterday's signs? I don't remember. I don't know any of this anymore. But of course, if you want to forget what all the signs are, go to OG's Brands, stop by your local dispensary, grab some amazing scratch-made THC gummies from our friends at OG's. You can even get a new microdose option that won't make you forget as much. But of course, you can get those exclusively at Zen dispensaries until the end of this week. So after that, you'll be able to find those everywhere. But go try the delicious variety of flavors that our friends at OG's Brands has to offer. They really do have some amazing flavors. Michaela loves the orange creamsicle. We talked about that the other day. I ate melted orange creamsicle. They were still delicious, but
melted. Interesting. Did you leave it in the car too long or something?
You can't leave stuff like that in your car in Arizona. There's another tip for you. You know, again, first dip your toes in the water. Don't eat a half of a piece. Don't eat a whole piece. Then the other tip, don't leave the OG's Brands gummies in the car because they will absolutely melt. But again, the 3 milligram microdose option is available now exclusively at Zen Leaf locations through May 11th. If you're interested in trying the amazingly delicious variety of flavors that OG's Brands has to offer, go to ogsbrands.com. That's OGEEZbrands.com to find OG's near you. And Jesse, I want to tell you something about the Arizona Diamondbacks. They've been a lot of things this season. They've been good. They've been bad. It's been ugly at times, but the Arizona Diamondbacks have actually been your best bet in baseball.
It's wild.
It's wild. According to covers.com, which tracks how much bettors would be up or down if they bet $100 on each team in each game, the Diamondbacks have been the most profitable team in baseball by a good amount. They've made a solid $688 profit for that hypothetical $100 better. The New York Mets are second on that list with a $530 profit, which just goes to show you can bet on the Diamondbacks, win or lose. You're going to win some money. This is a good team to bet on. This is a good team to go to the DraftKings Sportsbook and bet on. What are your thoughts?
I mean, they're overcoming the odds, literally. I mean, like no other team in baseball, really. And that's what happens. I mean, when people don't expect you to win and you keep winning games like the Diamondbacks have done, you know, when people expect your starting rotation to be one of the worst and it has a 2.21 ERA through 29 games, these kinds of things happen. And it's pretty crazy.
I missed Brute Squad's point there though about picturing me handing out gummies like the girl on the bus at the end of Ferris Bueller. I love this comment for so many reasons, but it once again reminds me that Lindsay on the PHNX Sun show said that Ferris Bueller was an overrated movie on her list, and I will never forgive her for that as long as
I do.
live.
I have actually seen that movie, and I did really enjoy it. So I'm
It's
with
such
you
a
on
good
that
movie.
one there.
See, one thing that's valuable about that movie for me as a baseball fan, Jesse, is that when I was a young lad, it made looking like ditching school and going to a baseball game was the ultimate end goal. You go to a museum, you go to a baseball game, you have yourself a great day, you go to a nice place and, make the maitre d' pretend you're Abe Froman, king of the sausages. But that's such a great movie, and it infuriates me right now just to think of someone calling it overrated. I hate it so much.
I mean, it is very
but
like everyone knows that movie. So I mean, it has tons and tons of hype built up over many years.
I think what's different is for me now, these movies are becoming kind of like the way that I felt when I was younger about like older movies, or at least movies I perceived were older movies, right? Like Casablanca and Gone with the Wind and stuff like that. I was like, whatever, But according to every source when I was a child, these were classics. Now, a classic is a John Hughes movie, period. The end. That's the way it works. But Ferris Bueller, by far, one of the greatest films ever made. That's all I got. By the way, according to covers.com, you need to go to the DraftKings Sportsbook and bet on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Go do it right now. We have about 20 minutes until first pitch. So go get on there. What they didn't show was Ferris was planning his ditch day 6 months in advance just to be able to get tickets. Yet, Wrigley Field. Oh, don't ever change. But go bet on the Arizona Diamondbacks right now in the DraftKings Sportsbook. If you're a new customer, you can bet on basketball. You get yourself $150 in free bets, and that's easy enough. All you got to do is bet $5 or more on any team to win, and as long as they do, you will get $150 in free bets. Then you take those free bets, you bet them on a same-game parlay, you bet them on the Arizona Diamondbacks, you spread them all around. Existing customers can get down on the same-game parlays. Create your own parlay by combining multiple bets, like which team will win, total threes made, local total rebounds, all sorts of stuff. Diamondbacks games, get down on what inning they're going to score. And, sometimes even with the live betting, you can bet like if there's going to be a run scored this inning. That's extra fun when the Arizona Diamondbacks have people in scoring position, but they're not going to score. That's it. I don't know. Lately, I don't even know. I can't even do that anymore because the Arizona Diamondbacks actually are scoring with runners in scoring position. So right now, all customers, new and existing, can place the same game parlay with 3 or more legs on a basketball game, NBA, and get free bet back up to $25 if one leg doesn't hit. And that's, of course, how it happens every single time. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PHNX. Bet $5 on any NBA team to win their game, and you will get $150 in free bets if they do. That's promo code PHNX only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. 21 and over, Arizona only. 20 gambling problem, dial 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. I'm missing all these great comments. What are we talking about with
we
Seth Beer? How nice would
we
have been
hit
to have
our
a DH bill. Why? Well, yeah. Why are we? No, let's not. Why are we doing this?
We hit our Yasmani Tomas
you got to get our
for the month.
We haven't, right? We haven't reminded ourselves about that terrible incident and how we got out of it right when the DH became part of the National League. But that's a whole other story.
I've said it before. I've said it before many times. Yasmani Tomas was not a good baseball player. You give him, you have the DH, and he becomes slightly less bad. He doesn't become a good baseball player if you put him at DH. So I wouldn't feel too sad about that in retrospect.
All right. Well, I'm tired. Some guy had a Yasmani Tomas jersey at the Suns watch party, and it was glorious. By the way, it was the vest jersey, the purple shirt, white vest, pinstripes jersey. It was a sharp look, but for the wrong player and all the wrong reasons. We thank you guys again for checking out the show. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Our show is at PHNX_DBacks. But of course, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you're watching us right now on YouTube, please make sure you're following the PHNX Sports channel. Subscribe, sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss any of the live content coming out from this show or all the wonderful shows on the PHNX network. If you're listening to us right now on your favorite audio podcasting app, please make sure you subscribe to us if you haven't done so already, and leave us a 5-star review if you feel we deserve it. We don't want to look, we're not going to pressure you into doing anything you don't want to do, but all I'm going to say is I will keep running this Baxter climbing Mount 500 video over 1,000 times until we get you to give us 5 stars. Fantastic. We thank you guys again for checking out the show. Of course, on behalf of Jesse and myself, we appreciate you taking the time. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you climb Mount 500.